Welcome back to the bubble, ladies and gentlemen. Today I want to have a talk about Cossacks 3. I've had a relationship with the Cossacks series for damn near 20 years when I started playing the demo for Cossacks 1, and then of course we got the Art of War, European Wars, Back to War, etc. and Cossacks 2, and now Cossacks 3 that was released in, I guess, 2016. So I played this game for quite a long time, but with bugs piling up and with popular creators stepping away from the game and with a lack of focus from the developers, I'm asking myself the question, is Cossacks 3 dying? Let's have a talk about it. Starting off with the bugs in the game, and that's if you're even able to start it. As I understand it, there are even problems with some people starting the game on different systems, like different versions of Windows, for example. And even some different graphic cards might even have trouble starting it. But let's just say that you're able to start the game. There have been bugs that starting to pile up, like selecting idle peasants. Why aren't these peasants marked as idle? And the game can sometimes just crash. And this actually looked like it went okay. Oh, damn. Where units start walking across the map. And we're not shooting. Why aren't we shooting? Not attacking anything, and it might even just... there are bugs all over the place. And this might be due to lack of maintenance from the developers. I think the last registered patch that I was able to find was in 2018. So, that's 5 years ago and like 2 years after the game release. So the game is due for an update patch-wise. An issue that I have found as an English-speaking player is that, one, the community, if you're able to, if you want to join multiplayer matches, it can take a while to find a game, and that's even quick matches where you just get automatically matched. And if not quick match, you want to go through lists of already set up costume games, and these can also be very unbalanced in many cases, like because the game has been around for so long and 20 years since Cossacks 1, not that much has changed in gameplay from C3 to C1. So if you play the game for 20 years compared to if you just now started to want to play C3, it's really unbalanced, and this can lead to a really unsatisfactory experience, I guess, for new players. And does that maybe alienate players who wants to get on to play, like a long waiting to get into a game and finding one that matches up with you? The rating system is a bit unbalanced as well, because the rating system should keep the very experienced players away from the very new players, so it's balanced and you have a satisfactory experience. But I have, I think, 50 wins or something like that multiplayer, but I can still get absolutely crushed. You get into position. Oh, damn! Hong actually gave up in rated games, and also I can absolutely annihilate in rated games as well. So that system is not very balanced, and I think that might scare off some new players, to be honest. Speaking of community, when it comes to in-game play, I've found there's a lot of language issues. Like I said, as an English speaker, there are not a lot of players that I play with that speaks English so that I can have chats with them.
Do you speak any English?
On English and try to get strategic with my teammates. And if they speak, usually it's a language that I don't know, and that I don't speak, and that I don't understand. And sometimes that might even be a good thing, because sometimes I guess there's a lot of curse words. I know some of them from playing CS, Counter-Strike way back in the day. So I know that some of them aren't good, but it's a lack of communication during game time as well. And that can also be like, okay, I want to try to communicate. I want to try to set up a strategy, or I'm getting my ass crushed and I need reinforcements. Yeah, the teamwork is not really there, and I think that's another thing that might hurt the game, and especially hurt the community, scare away new players, etc. So let's try to be talkative out there, and let's try to be encouraging with our fellow teammates and also our opponents as well. Next, we have the issue of popular creators, and I'm talking of course YouTube creators, stepping away from the game. I mean, we have Sergiu Heldragoon, sorry if I butchered that name, but I mean, that guy played the game very, very well for starters, but also I think the videos are pretty old, but I mean, he got hundreds of thousands of views on his matches, and he usually had a pretty good tone as well, but when that kind of content no longer gets distributed, I mean, then the game can't really reach new audiences. But then, of course, we also have Colorfit, who is, in my opinion, one of the absolute best Cossacks players ever. That guy could really turn anything into a victory just using micro in a way that I really haven't seen a lot of other players do. But what I know, Colorfit hasn't uploaded in quite a while either, but if you'd like to see, of course, go into that channel if you haven't already seen it. But with these popular creators stepping away from the game and no longer reaching audiences, and no longer reaching audiences in English, although Colorfit didn't really speak a lot during his games, but then the game can't really reach the new audiences, and that must have a negative impact on the game as well, because that kind of free marketing is really something that the developers and the game can afford to lose.
It's free real estate.
So we really have that problem as well. The next issue is gameplay variation that I would like to talk about. If we compare it to Age of Empires, for example, which is also 20-something years old, but that game is flourishing. It's still exploding, getting actually more players, basically. And we have some things that are comparable. Of course, they're both real-time strategy games, but Age of Empires is a lot more strategic with the micromanagement. Basically, every unit is very, very valuable. While in Cossacks 3, I've seen some comments about that Cossacks 3 and the Cossacks series in general don't really have the variety. I mean, you have the buildings that you build, everyone has the same build order basically, and you don't recruit 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 or 100 of any unit. You just press Control and left click, and then you produce an infinite amount of these troops, and then you just throw them all into the meat grinder once they're ready, and once you're ready, I guess. So is that a problem? I mean, might people just get bored of playing Cossacks 3 because there's not enough variation? That could also be absolutely a problem. So what do you think about that one? We're starting to reach the end of my bitching list, but the next one is about, of course, Cossacks is developed by a Ukrainian company called GSC Game World, and this company has basically put a lot of their, I guess, reputation on Cossacks and the Cossacks series. They have also, of course, developed other games like the Stalker series, and I think they're set to release Stalker 2 in, I guess, next year. But they've also put so much into the real-time strategy genre with the Cossacks 1, Cossacks 2. They also have the American Conquest series, which is pretty similar to Cossacks 1, I think. But also Alexander, based on Alexander the Great, and that one's based a lot on Cossacks 2. And then, of course, Cossacks 2 and Cossacks 3, which is like a remake of Cossacks 1. But they put a lot of focus on these games, and Cossacks 3 having, like, I think 4 or 5 expansions, I think. So they have put a lot of eggs in these baskets. But now, as I understand it, of course, they have a war to focus on. So can't really hold that against them. Wasn't their choice, I think. But also, they've put a lot of focus into their Stalker 2 game that's coming out next year. So they should try to put some focus on Cossacks just to keep this one alive. At least according to Steam, the reviews are very, very good. I mean, if you get the community up and running, if you get the bugs sorted out, if maybe get some more events or something, I don't know, but something that shows that the developers in GSC Game World still has some kind of plans for the Cossack series. I think that would really, really help the game and the community, and it would help to keep Cossacks 3 alive and maybe even thriving. Now, the last point I would like to talk about, and I think we should chat about a little bit, is did GSC Game World take the wrong step? I mean, they did Cossacks 1, a bit quicker paced, faster gameplay, quicker paced game in general, I think. But then they went from that to Cossacks 2, which I've also played a little bit on this channel, but it's a bit slower gameplay, but it had so much depth. I mean, we had fatigue penalties and morale, artillery crew, and just to name a few, it was a much more nuanced gaming experience. But then they came with Cossacks 3, and I think a lot of people might have wanted them to develop it rather towards Cossacks 2. And Alexander, like I said, that was more to Cossacks 2. But then we came with Cossacks 3, and that was basically just a remake of Cossacks 1. And like Cossacks 1, I don't even think you can play it anywhere. I don't think it's possible to play it on a modern computer. But with Cossacks 3, just picking up to Cossacks 1, not really adding a lot except for an upgraded graphics and some new factions, some new nations. But they could have gotten so many of the good parts for Cossacks 2 and Cossacks 1, meshed it together, and then it could have been Cossacks 3. So maybe that's also something that the community doesn't really take too kindly to, that it should have been developed more towards Cossacks 2. Or maybe even gone completely off the rails and done something else. I mean, Cossacks 1 was kind of successful, I think, in its own right. Cossacks 2 also did pretty good, I think. And then Cossacks 3 could have been something else, something different. So I think that might have been another mistake on their part, but I'm not sure. I love Cossacks 3, love Cossacks 1, love Cossacks 2. So what do you think about that one? Now we've covered a bunch of different points. I think we reached like 7 or something like that. Things that I feel is kind of wrong with the direction that the game is going right now. But I'm very curious to see what you think. Like, is Cossacks 3 dying? Or is there maybe any hope for a revival if that's the case? Or maybe even some kick-starting of the game that could get it to grow and to develop and to maybe even become bigger? Because I love playing it, and I would really hate for it to just disappear into nothing, into a little gray speck that people remember fondly, but no one plays anymore. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on the topic, and thank you so much for watching. And please write down what you think on the comments below. I really want to talk about these things and see what you guys think. I mean, the videos still seem to be appreciated by you, the Let's Play videos. But I would really like for the game to stay pleasant to play and to even become greater. So let me know what you think. Have a great day and take care. I will see you in the next one.
The weird bubble.